Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. And unlike Warner Brothers, guys, we're not going to wait 6 months for you guys to see this movie. We're going to give you this review pretty quickly after we release Part 1, because we're not dicks like Warner Brothers. Just kidding, Warner Brothers. We love you guys. Don't give us a copyright infringement. This movie came out in July of 2011. Obviously, this is the last film of the series, and I got to say, initial thoughts just going into this, I thought this film did a real... Look, again... It had a lot to conclude, from all the character and story arcs to concluding the series in general, and obviously I had tiny little issues with things here and there, but overall I thought this film did such a really good job of closing out the series in a really high note, finishing off a lot of the character arcs the right way, and again, it really felt natural and didn't feel forced and shoved down your throat. So I really enjoyed this film, and again, I thought it just did a great job of ending the series on a very high note.
Yeah, this movie definitely was really good. It felt very final to me. Just almost so many of the scenes just make you realize that everything is coming to a close. And they, like you said, they did it naturally and it wasn't forced. So that to me is kind of what stood out, is that they took, the past 7 movies and just made everything kind of feel, just even though the story, is ending, just everything just felt very finished and just final.
The acting again, the acting in all the films is always very top notch for the most part. But for me personally, in this film, the standout is Alan Rickman. I mean, obviously we definitely get to learn a lot more about Snape, especially when Harry sticks his face into the Pontiff. But again, and usually we don't get a ton of Alan Rickman in most of these films. I'm not saying we got a ton of him in this film, but we did get many more scenes in this.
We got one basically really big scene.
Yeah, but
and a couple smaller scenes.
But again, adding it all up, we got many more smaller scenes and that large scene than we usually get of him. We usually get in most of these movies about 2-3 scenes, maybe 4 sometimes, of Snape. But again, I like seeing him obviously in more parts of this film. Obviously, he's a very big part of the story in this one, and also we get kind of the redemption of his character. We get an understanding of why he does everything that he's done up to this point in his life, and possibly why he's either on one side or another. But I just thought this film, especially that sequence too, and which we'll get into a little bit of showing of Harry's face in the Pontiff, just such a very, from the music by Alexandre Desplat to what was going on from the flashbacks to the story, adding more character and emotional depth into Snape. I just thought it was, again, just a really standout performance, and me being biased for the late, great Alan Rickman, who is one of my favorite actors, I really feel that he should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this film, because not just for this film, but from all his performances stringed up into one, kind of almost like a thank you from all the other films, kind of. But I just really thought he was that good and powerful in the small amount of scenes that we did get of him.
Neville also had a much bigger role in this movie too, because
basically
he's kind of the leader at Hogwarts now since Harry left, and it was cool to see Neville's arc come to a close like that. Him actually stepping up, and because technically Neville was also a baby born in the end of July, so this whole time it could have been
in these movies.
It could have been Neville Longbottom and the Sorcerer's Stone.
that would have been interesting.
I think Harry Potter.
In some alternate universe, there might be those movies.
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought all the actors did a pretty good job, especially in in the middle of the battle scene when Voldemort basically says, collect your dead, and you see. There's a lot of people dying in these 2 movies too, which is something I also thought made Harry Potter seem a little bit more real to me in these last 2 movies. But
the stakes were much higher, obviously.
Yeah, and the scenes where everyone's crying and we're not going to spoil anything of who dies, but a lot of people die, and it's just cool to see everyone actually showing genuine reactions.
I might spoil one death later in this.
Okay, we'll prepare you, but. Yeah. But, overall, just the acting in this movie, there were a few parts here and there that I thought were a little cheesy. Obviously, Harry and Ginny's relationship is a little bit awkward at times, but I thought that was better than it had been. But I don't know. For the most part, I thought everything was pretty good acting-wise.
It's kind of spoilers, but I kind of really enjoyed seeing Dumbledore again. What I thought that Michael Gambon did such a good job again. Again, I'm not saying he copied Richard Harris, but just getting the softer side of Dumbledore. And those are my favorite scenes of Michael Gambon whenever he's in any of these films, when he shows the softer side of Dumbledore. Because a few scenes of the flashbacks, and again, when Harry's at the King's Cross station, I really enjoyed those scenes, especially between Michael Gambon and Daniel Radcliffe. And again, I really love how he brought that softer side back to Dumbledore again, and I loved his performance in this film.
We also got to talk a little bit about Ralph Fiennes too, as Voldemort.
Yes,
he's
you're right,
in this
absolutely.
movie the most of any movie by far, and like some parts I really liked,
Some
and
awkward
some
parts.
were a little awkward and kind of cheesy and funny. Well, no, I thought that was hilarious because of that awkward hug.
That's what I was doing.
That's
the hug.
so funny. I thought that was that part made me laugh. But yeah, some of the parts where it's like Harry Potter's dead and he's just laughing. He just has the most awkward, goofy smile ever.
But it was funny, but it didn't. It bothered me in a non-funny, in a funny
There's
way.
this
Rather.
one just quick little scene in the 5th movie where like Voldemort's in his head and then you just see him pop out of nowhere and be like, it's so funny.
Yeah, I remember that. But that's how a snake, I guess, would kind of react.
I don't know. I just feel like Voldemort's a little bit of a goofball.
I feel you.
Some parts I actually really did enjoy.
I still felt he was a little scary, but
no, he definitely was scary, but he was almost funny. Like maybe in a good way, maybe not in a bad way.
You're right.
Good way, but
no, I agree.
Overall, I liked his performance. I just had to mention, like, at times, just like he's a little bit goofy, which is kind of funny. I don't know. I'm not trying to bash it.
No, I mean,
observing.
And just really quick, because I haven't really talked about Ralph Fiennes in a while too. I enjoyed his performance, but just adding, there were a couple of cheesy moments. But whatever.
But who's to say Voldemort's not a cheeseball?
Yeah,
so.
maybe exactly. Tom Riddle might have been a cheeseball, so maybe Voldemort is.
Rewatching this movie, I did my issue is with the basically final battle with Harry and Voldemort, and you actually did see them fighting a little bit, and you saw he was doing that magic with all those strings holding Harry, and they did fight, there were some cool scenes of them dueling, and I mean I thought that was cool, but I just wish at the very end the scene is just so quick where it's just Harry. Him doing with the wands, and he basically disintegrates. Where I wish they're doing that whole stand down scene with everyone in the courtyard.
That would have been cool.
And because we kind of got that a little bit when Harry was pretending to be dead. But I wanted the one where Harry and Voldemort are actually talking in front of everybody. That's just an epic conversation right before the end.
Oh, Mister, it should have been in the book, huh?
I mean, it's not like
I feel you.
It's not like it has to be the exact same, but you kind of wanted to see that side of it.
No, I'm messing with. I agree. That would have maybe made it definitely a little bit more impactful and a little more add a little more depth to the scene. But that being said, I didn't mind. I got over it being a kind of a soul run just because of the epicness from the music.
Yeah, they
to the
didn't have a lot
visual
of
stuff.
fighting. Yeah,
but like you said, it would have definitely added a little more of the scene. I agree. Okay, once again, Alexander Desplat does this final film as and he came back from doing Deathly Hallows Part 1. This was his second entry in the Harry Potter series. I kind of mentioned in the last review, this one is my favorite score of all the films, and that's something, impressive to be said because I love all the scores of all these Harry Potter films. Right when the film starts, you hear Lily's theme where we hear that kind of, you hear a girl almost in the background, and kind of like an operatic theme. It's just so beautiful and touching and emotional. And the movie just freaking started, and we kind of, and again, a little spoiler territory, we kind of see the Death Eaters have taken control of Hogwarts, and it's almost like a prison, that school now. I mean, it's literally Slytherin heaven. But we get to see, and then immediately right away, just going back to the amazing performance by Alan Rickman, you see that it's hurting him. What's going on right now? He doesn't want to keep playing that role, but again,
and at the same time, he has to make it look like he is that evil person.
Yeah. So, and again, just with the music, with Alan Rickman's, Alan's not even Snape's not even speaking in the scene, but listening to that music and looking in his face, it's just such when the movie's 45 seconds in, it's just so powerful and moving with that music that's playing.
Everything just looked epic too. Just especially the battle scenes at Hogwarts. I mean, the movie actually starts off pretty sick. At that whole bank scene at Gringotts, and I thought that was really cool with the dragon. That was
Smog? Oh no, sorry, wrong series. My bad. Go ahead.
But yeah, that was just an epic scene, and then basically the rest of the movie is either at Hogwarts or in the forest, and just everything when the battle was going on, all the rubble, all the destruction, just everything just looked really, really good, and I thought they made the castle just look like a disaster, but a great disaster.
Yeah, and again, just adding into more the vulnerable and feeling the stakes, seeing Hogwarts being destroyed and demolished
in
this.
Ruins.
Obviously, we don't. I mean, again, I still felt the stakes are high, but when you see that rather the Weasley home was destroyed in one film and then immediately fixed in the next film, you feel they'll probably have it fixed in a few weeks, anyways. But again, you do
magic.
Yeah, exactly. But in the moment, you do just seeing the rubble and the destruction of Hogwarts. It was definitely a sight to behold, and I gotta say too. I loved when we got back to Gringotts because again we'd only seen that film in I believe the Sorcerer's Stone when Harry went to retrieve the money from his vault, as well as the Sorcerer's Stone with Hagrid. again, we got more in depth and seeing more of the inside of the Green God's vault, and I just thought, again, like we talked about how the dragon was guarding it, and how we saw those neat things happening or rather the crazy things happening inside Bellatrix Lestrange's vault. I just thought, again, the sets in this film and all the films are very well, but especially this one, I really like Gringotts, seeing the destruction of Hogwarts, and I guess we got that one scene again of Malfoy Manor where Voldemort had discovered that the Horcruxes were being destroyed. So it was cool to see Malfoy Manor again for the last time. So I just thought the sets were really cool in this film. And again, all the exterior and interior shots really, really well done. And also, too, I gotta say, I also liked how they returned to the Chamber of Secrets, and we got to see the skeleton remains of the basilisk. That was really cool. Like, oh, that's exactly how it kind of would be positioned right there, because no one's been in there in 5 years. So that was really cool to return back to the chamber.
A pretty big moment for a couple of our characters happens in the Chamber of Secrets too. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, that definitely was. I love that they made out, but it's how fast they just ran into it. It felt a tiny bit forced, but again,
a little bit.
I was happy to see them finally about time, so it was cool to see that moment, though. It was definitely a cool moment for sure. I gotta say too, obviously this is much more action oriented than the previous two films, because they've been building up to this point, the Battle of Hogwarts, and I will say that some of the in-depth shots we get of the battle, very, like I said, emotional, and the stakes are high because we see characters are being wiped out on both sides, so the stakes are much higher, obviously, when we see that happening, rather than just, blocking spells only. So I thought some of the action sequences in this film were really well done. Also, too, the battle sequences between Voldemort and Harry, and I agree with you. It would have been cool to see some of the crowds around during the action, and even some of the professors maybe helping Harry out, like Slughorn and McGonagall maybe helping out Harry.
I see a little bit of McGonagall in there.
Yeah, but I'm talking about fighting Voldemort. I'm just saying it would have been a little cool to see that as well. That being said, I really did enjoy the duel between them again, because we've seen it now.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Times,
pretty cool.
Yeah, and we got to see the Christmas colors come back with red and green, so that was really cool too when they when their wands take on the same spell. So I like seeing that too. Really, that was, again, visually and for the action sequences, really cool scene.
And yeah, all the actual fighting scenes are just shot really well too. You actually see a lot of what's going on versus just kind of a lot of back and forth. You can't really see too much, but just a lot of big things happening, a lot of explosions, and just I don't know. I thought everything just looked really good.
Yeah, and also, too, I mean, this movie, again, is very serious and more darker and more, like we said, than the previous films in the series. So there's not as much humor as in some of the other ones. Again, the stakes are very high in this film. A lot of deaths are going on. So they kind of toned it down a little bit on the humor and focused more on the battle itself and the more dramatic moments, which I didn't mind at all because, again, we've had a ton of humor up to not a ton, but a good amount of humor that was very well balanced in the first 7 films. So I didn't mind that they toned it down a little bit to focus more on the battle and the more serious moments in this film, because there's a lot of moments that are very serious in this.
There are, but there are a few humorous moments in this movie too, spliced in. I actually think there's a fair share. Part of it's from just Voldemort being goofy. I kind of talked about that earlier.
Yeah, but that's not intentional. Humor moments. That's
maybe,
more because you felt the cheese.
There were a few jokes.
Some of our issues are nitpicks, if you will, or things we thought were a little bit wrong, could have been a little better in this film. Not a huge, big problem, but I thought the part where Ron, when they entered the Chamber of Secrets, him and Hermione, he knew the parcel tongue because Harry spoke in his sleep. First of all, how does he know when Harry's speaking in his sleep? Oh, that's the Chamber of Secrets chant. There's so many different things you can say in parcel tongue, so
it was a little convenient.
It was a little convenient, but I just said it's not the biggest deal in the world. I just would have liked a little 2-second thing of Harry saying, "This is what you have to say to get into the chamber." That would have maybe fixed that, but that's not the biggest deal in the world. Again, the scenes, the in-depth shots we get of the Battle of Hogwarts, phenomenal. It's beautifully shot. The music is great. But my issue with the Battle of Hogwarts, it feels more like it's in the background rather than a main focus. And I understand that the Horcruxes are being destroyed. There's a lot of different things going on, but I wanted to feel a little more of the Battle of Hogwarts. I wanted to be a little more in-depth in there, seeing more fighting. And again, I know we did get a decent amount of that. Give me 10, 15 more minutes more seeing, again, going a little bit into spoilers territory. I know we kind of saw Fred's kind of looking, but it didn't feel like that was the actual blast that killed Fred. I wanted to see Remus's death. I wanted to see Tonks's death. Like, these are important characters to me, and it's a tiny bit insulting to me when these characters are killed off screen. just a little more. It would have been a little more impactful to watch the battle and seeing these characters die. We kind of got to see.
To be fair, the same in the book. You don't see their deaths. They're
fine,
in the background,
but
or they're unseen. I should say.
That's fine. But me personally, I wouldn't have mind seeing at least one of those deaths. I know we kind of got a little glimpse of it when Fred or that spell, but even rewatching it again, it didn't look like that was the clear. It didn't look like that was the clear shot. Just one of those three, I would have had a little more impact. But again, obviously, still seeing them dead on the ground. Very emotionally impacting for me, but again, I just would have liked the battle to have a little more, not so much in the background, a little more in depth in those scenes. But that being said, the scenes we did get, I did really enjoy seeing the battle.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have too many flaws, but yeah, some of the battle scenes were a little bit, like you said, in the background, and some things were a little convenient, just the way things lined up. I'm not going to get into too much detail about it because I don't think it was that big a deal, but. I don't know, a few moments of acting and just little parts here and there, but on the big scale, I thought it was pretty solid overall.
And when Ginny found out or thought that Hagrid was carrying Harry Potter's dead body, and she heard Voldemort say that Harry Potter was dead, rightfully so, she kind of freaked out because this is the man the adult teenager now that she's in love with. Yeah, but this is the man she's now in love with. So that reaction, I actually bought it by Bonnie Wright. That was totally fine. And again, I'm not even criticizing her. It's more the writer a little bit. But then after the battle is over, and again, she saw that Harry was alive and then running for his life. I'm not talking about in that moment. I'm talking about back in the Great Hall after the battle is over. We see Harry is obviously alive, and then Ginny is like this. And smiles at Harry, which, like, again, I understand physically she had just gone through a battle, very tired, of course, emotionally and mentally, probably exhausted. She just lost her brother and many other friends. I absolutely get it. She is mentally and physically exhausted. This is the man you love who you just thought was dead is now alive. You're not going to run up and grab him and say, oh my God, you're alive, thank God, or like give him a kiss or something. It felt a little unnatural to me and not real. Like, the moment where she screamed in terror when he was dead, completely real and totally natural. Her seeing him again alive and just smiling with her head on her mom's shoulder. Again, I understand the physical and mental exhaustion she had just gone through. Didn't feel real at all, and it was very awkward for me again.
Just kind of keeping in line with the fact that they're all kind of awkward together almost all the time.
Yeah, I guess. From that point, they succeeded then. Our final thoughts, I thought this film like I said earlier, did a really great job of ending the film series on a very high note. It's very well shot, it's fast-paced, it's emotionally very gripping at times. The action, especially when we go really in depth in the Battle of Hogwarts, love those scenes. The music by Alexander Desplat, in my opinion, my biased opinion, should have been nominated. Also, I will say in one word to describe his score, as Ron Weasley would say, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant music score. Like I said, the action's very good. The visual and special effects are really good in this film as well. The direction is very good. The acting is fantastic, especially by Alan Rickman and the actor who played Neville Longbottom. Also, Michael Gambon again, and of course the three leads. Notwithstanding a few funny little moments by Ralph Fiennes, but still, he gave a pretty good, solid performance. I'm giving Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 a 9.6 out of 10.
It's pretty good, man. I definitely really like this movie a lot too. It's not so much as much story as it is just the final kind of last moments of this whole story. And I thought basically this movie's strength is really putting that final touch on all these movies that came before it. The action was all really good, which is a lot of action in this movie, which was cool to see because that's kind of made it kind of feel different than the other movies. But to me, when I really think of these movies as one, I think it kind of serves it better. But this movie, just looking at this one like as on its own, I still think it's a good movie that holds up on its own. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give this movie an 8.9 out of 10. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for these videos. We're finally done with our Harry Potter series, and we're excited to watch the Fantastic Beasts coming out pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that review as well. And if you like these videos, you can hit the subscribe button.
See you guys next time.